What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to Tactical Newbie, the channel where a newbie like me gets into all things tactical. With the funny movie introductions out of the way, per usual, like we always do, let's get right into today's video. So today's video is going to be a feature segment that I've featured quite a bit on the channel. For those of you that know, you know. For those of you that you don't, you don't. That specific segment being, based on the thumbnail, the budget build segment of videos. For this specific budget build segment, I will be featuring the Krydex low Vis Plate Carrier. Essentially, it is a budget-friendly variant of the at least the Ferro Concepts Slickster, and at least that's the main principal kind of direction that I kind of aimed this setup to be. Essentially, what it is a budget-friendly clone of the existing setup that I am currently running of the Gucci variety, which is the Ferro Concepts Slickster in Wolf Gray, which I have featured on the channel quite a bit. So with this specific budget build segment, this will be the part 3 for this specific loadout, and similar to the other part 3 budget build featurette that I featured for the PETAC Gear FCPC V5, this will be the final budget build for this specific setup. This is essentially the end culmination of where this specific setup has kind of reached, and kind of be the plateau of where I'm going to take it further. For the most part, it's kind of going to be just at this point there's not really too much I can really add to this specific system within itself. It is slick in nature from what it is just off the rip. So what you will see in this specific video is just a couple of the mainstay features that I have added to this specific plate carrier. A lot of them are in turn resembling what I have basically done to my Ferro Concept Slickster. So you're going to see a build out of a MOLLE back panel. You're going to see a basically a water bladder pack that I'm going to assemble on the back side. And then I'm going to be installing a new Cumberbund setup with QD quick disconnect availability. So that way I don't have to worry about the standard Slickster having to unvelcro everything and revelcro everything back. I would have a quick at least availability to both connect and disconnect the Cumberbund system to make ease of at least getting in and out of the plate carrier more easy and not just wrecking the Velcro. But with all the rambling out of the way, let's get right into the video, and I will see you guys on the other side. Alrighty, now due to popular request from a lot of commenters, I think I'm going to start at least continuing with the at least additional added commentary for some of the videos that I featured on the channel that at least at the beginning of the channel didn't necessarily feature any background commentary. Those specific videos being this one, the budget build segment of videos that predominantly just showcased me building out certain kit without any necessary background commentary, and then of course the other one being the tactical hauls, which I got at least a fairly decent amount of comments from guys basically saying that they would at least like a little bit of a background detail, or maybe some additional just kind of price points, or maybe even lead times, stuff like that for some of those videos, again, that don't feature any commentary. So let me know in the comments down below if this is something that you enjoy, if the background commentary actually adds something to the budget build segment. For those of you that aren't familiar with the budget build segment of videos, this is essentially where I just take some of the products that I got from either AliExpress or from Amazon and essentially build out specific kit. For this specific kit, at least mention, which is the Krydex low Vis slick plate carrier setup. As you can tell just from watching the video, this is essentially just going to be the part 3 version of this specific kit setup, in which I'm basically going to disassemble the Cumberbund system and add on a QD quick disconnect Cumberbund feature just to allocate easier access to in and out of the actual plate carrier within itself. And then I will be adding a back panel, which is actually in hindsight a pretty nifty back panel within itself. The company is I guess some sort of Chinese based company called DM Gear. And unlike some of the other primarily knockoff gear that, obviously China makes for the most part, this specific company seems to at least do some original retrofits for existing gear, which I thought was pretty cool.
And one of those existing retrofits is actually the back panel MOLLE, which basically allocates you to, or allows you to, essentially install a back panel of MOLLE onto a plate carrier like the low vis Slick Plate Carrier or the Ferro Concept Slickster, that, at least the old Ferro Concept Slickster, that doesn't necessarily have any back panel MOLLE. It allows you the feature to install said MOLLE with like a pretty decent hook and loop Velcro on the one face side of the MOLLE, and then obviously you have some sort of either Cordura slash material or like material, I don't honestly know what it is for the most part, that basically is on the additional other face and allows you essentially to MOLLE any type of components onto, obviously, like MOLLE does, a back panel that was designed originally not to have any sort of MOLLE availability. So essentially allows you to retrofit a slick back panel into a non-slick back panel if you so chose. So from here, what you're going to kind of see is, like I stated before, again, just trying to fill in some, I guess, filler. It's just basically going to be the elastic Cumberbund system with QD quick disconnect availability on the actual Cumberbund system. As I was kind of installing this specific product, for the most part, what I do with most of these build features is I basically have at least a camera mounted or chest mounted platform that sits kind of right in front of my face and allows me to basically allow the viewer a first person type perspective into a lot of the builds. The downside of that, for the most part, is that it does create a little bit of a hindrance with vision and does not allow me to fully get a full, at least, view of what I'm working on. So I'm primarily kind of working in the dark a little bit, or working partially blind with a lot of this stuff. So as you see me kind of fumbling around with this specific video, or even other videos in the past, that's generally the reason why, is because I'm either having to look around my camera or above it, or kind of just touch and feel and kind of negotiate the installation partially blind. It's also why you see in some instances a lot of like refits, where I basically will mount a certain thing, like as you saw with the front, a hook and loop Velcro, and then I pull it apart and then remount it again. In most instances, it's because of limited eyesight, I noticed that it's a little bit off, and of course my OCD doesn't really allow that to happen, so I ended up undoing everything and then kind of resetting it back in its place again. But for the most part, the quality of this elastic Cumberbund system is pretty decent overall. Obviously, only time could tell, or will tell, how the quality at least holds up over time and with just routine use and abuse. It is of a decent quality to the existing Cumberbund system that came with this specific product. So in all reality, it is just a elastic Cumberbund system. I mean, there's not really any really extreme bells and whistles about that. It's not really reinventing the wheel by any state or nature, but it allows at least the comfort, at least hugging availability of the elastic material to hug around your waist, create a nice form and conformed fit. And then obviously with the QDs at the front, it allows for you to be able to quickly at least dollar off the plate carrier system based on need without having to do the constant rip action that is like infamous for most hook and loop Velcro Cumberbund systems. Any guys that know, you know how it is. It's basically that whole rip sound just to get one of the side Cumberbund panels off to be able to essentially slide your body through and then reattach over a period of time through that repeated, at least ripping of Velcro. Velcro does have a general shelf life, even of the top quality stuff, and through repeated use of just unvelcroing and reassembling on Velcro, eventually what ends up happening is the Velcro ends up fraying and gets that kind of like cottony or just frayed texture, and then over a substantial period of time of that repeated action, basically the Velcro no longer holds like it should, and then you end up having to replace it anyway. Now, of course, one of the joys with at least adding the additional commentary of the budget build segment of videos is that you get the at least the joy and the luxury of getting to hear me ramble for a prolonged period of time, as I did state earlier in the video. Again, comment down below if it's something that you guys enjoy, if the added additional commentary was helpful or enjoyable, or if it was just a prolonged period of time of me just nonsensically rambling about a bunch of nonsense, which I do anyway in most of these videos. But at least going back to at least kind of discussing the budget build within itself, you're now going to kind of see me installing the DM Gear malleable back panel. Again, as I've stated before, it is a pretty ingenious quote-unquote invention. The hard part with most Chinese factories is you can't guarantee whether or not it was an original idea or some IP theft or copyright theft that they took from another smaller company. As you know, we all know with most Chinese knockoff gear, as I especially know because it's a lot of what I feature. But at least with this malleable back panel, like I said, it does at least allow the availability for you to install MOLLE on the back panel of an otherwise slick back panel, which is usually common for a lot of like the Ferro concept Slicksters, more specifically is infamously known for it. Or you could do something along the lines like the T-Rex arms AC1 plate carrier, or any other at least plate carriers, again with the slick back panel. But for the most part, what you're going to see, like I said, with this design is essentially you got the hook and loop Velcro on the back face of the malleable back panel. You have some straps that flip over the top of the plate carrier and tuck into at least the inseam, where you have at least Velcro for the flap that holds the plates into the actual plate carrier. And then you also have another at least flap that goes around the plate carrier on the upper part to at least create like almost like a strap, like almost like a secure hug on at least the face of the plate carrier, and or at least the face of the malleable panel, and then at least creates a decent hold with all the at least the hook and loop Velcro, and then of course the flaps that kind of keep everything nice and contained. Now aesthetically, what I do like about it is that the actual straps with that little strap of Velcro that you do see at the face of the MOLLE is it does not interrupt with the ability to MOLLE certain items on. You can essentially MOLLE over it without any issues whatsoever, but all in all, it's a pretty clean look.
You have any experience?
No, sir, I have no experience, but I'm a big fan of money. I like it. I use it. I have a little. I keep it in a jar on top of my refrigerator. I'd like to put more in that jar. That's where you come in.
Alrighty, now with the at least the back malleable panel installed, we can go ahead and throw on the attachment for the water bladder pack. Essentially, this entire budget build retrofit is meant, or the idea was designed to actually clone my existing Ferro Concepts Slickster and the setup that I have currently with that. The main at least reason for having at least something as redundant as a low budget variant of a plate carrier that I already have is more so to just also provide to guys a budget option for something along the lines of the Ferro Concept Slickster that's going to be drastically more money, especially when I make a reflection of that on the at least it's a form of the tactical comparison videos, but it's actually the Gucci gear versus low budget segment of videos, which basically will highlight my Gucci gear setup and compare it directly to the low budget setup. I actually have one of those videos on the channel already for the Slickster and the low vis slick plate carrier system. I will have an updated version of that that's going to have a cross comparison of both items, at least collectively, so that way you have at least an updated option or updated view of the existing loadout for what it is, both of the Gucci variety and the low budget variety, and price points in between. Now, of course, from here, you will, like I stated before, get at least the first-hand view of me installing the back water bladder, and of course the camelback that will be installed for it. I end up running the camelback straw on the right seam or at least shoulder strap of my plate carrier system, in similar vein to how I have it ran with the Ferro Concept Slickster, and then essentially just have it. Still haven't figured out a full variant of where I'm going to tuck at least the port where you can get the water from. I might end up having some sort of Velcro, at least strap down or something like that to at least tie that part of the straw down, because I do have quite a substantial amount of like loop coming from the straw that I don't want to be flapping around in my face as I'm running or moving or doing anything of that nature. So there will be a little retrofitting with that to help kind of tie that down. But as you're viewing the mollying, MOLLE is MOLLE for the most part. It is very tedious. It is very boring, to say the least, but necessary all the same, especially with certain products. So as you're seeing me MOLLE this stuff in, then you'll see me at least have the install, like I said, of the Camelback. Keep in mind, this is completely at least a complete like divergence to this, at least conversation of me talking about MOLLE, but this actual budget build featurette will lead into, of course, the low budget update segment of videos. For anybody that follows the channels, you know I usually have a trend of continuation with my videos. They usually have some sort of bearing to the video before it, especially when you're dealing with the budget builds. So, of course, after the finalized build of this specific setup, at least the part 3 of the specific setup, you will then get the low budget update segment. That's basically going to give you the full price points for everything and then a total accumulation of everything across the board. So that way you can see, even at this present time, how much this specific loadout cost me. Obviously, keep in mind that tariffs, inflation, and a number of different things can definitely at least change the price value a little bit compared to what I will be featuring, because obviously some of the products that I did buy were basically featured at the beginning of last year, obviously well before there was any type of Chinese tariffs or anything of that nature. Yeah, now with the at least the pack fully installed and the tabs just kind of being finalized and pushed into the back panel, you can kind of see the final product or the finished product of the water pouch or the back water panel. Like I said, all things considered, the retrofit within itself was actually very, very clean, and I was pleasantly surprised with the end result, all things considered. So if anything, if you get anything out of this specific, at least budget build setup, just know that whatever this DM Gear company is, I bought this off AliExpress. Whatever this DM Gear company is, it definitely had at least a decent retrofit that doesn't cost like an arm and a leg to pay for to get installed. Keep in mind, I will feature the price point for that back panel on the low budget update segment, where I will break down all the specific price points for all the gear to this date, and of course the added total to this specific loadout. Anybody that of course knows, at least that's built out a pretty at least decent plate carrier setup and battle belt setup, obviously knows that kit within itself, especially building out a pretty substantial loadout, can be very, very expensive, especially when you're just dealing primarily with the Gucci stuff. As I've stated before multiple times in multiple videos, that's kind of one of the primary reasons why I do showcase on display some of these more quote-unquote budget items. Now, by all means, I am not shilling for China or shilling for these budget manufacturers, but at the end of the day, based on, you know, difficulties in economy and obviously people's monetary limits based on what they can spend on specific kit, not everybody can drop hundreds and hundreds of dollars on little incremental pieces of kit, especially with the way some of the prices are for certain manufacturers. So at least providing a low budget alternative to a lot of viewers can at least help guys, even if you're maybe going for a full kitted out loadout or maybe at least a Gucci plate carrier system, you can at least supplement some of the other options, pouches, back panels, water panels, placards, or anything like that. You can supplement some of that stuff with at least a more budget-friendly option, especially even with the tariffs for a lot of the Chinese products. They are still drastically cheaper than anything you can get from some of the mainstream Gucci manufacturers. Of course, there's other options available, like you can go with secondhand manufacturers through or sellers through eBay. You, of course, can go to Army surplus areas, or at least shops or stores, to obviously order or get any products, secondhand products from there. So there are options if you don't necessarily trust or want to purchase or go the route of the Chinesium style, or at least the Chinesium products, especially on the nylon gear, because there is some general complaints, obviously, with just whether or not these specific products are going to hold up, whether or not the stitching is going to hold up, whether or not that these things will light up like a Christmas tree under night vision. So there's a lot of uncertainty with some of these products and the materials that are being used, and of course the QC involved to keep these things up to snuff. But at the end of the day, like I said, these are just providing the options. Not everybody's going to at least have the type of coin to spend top dollar on 100% Gucci gear. I would know firsthand, just doing the experiment with my Ferro Concept Slickster and going only Gucci route for that. That showcased firsthand on display just how expensive just going Gucci can be. You're looking at an investment of a couple hundred to, if not $1,000+ just to have a decent kit setup of all Gucci brand name items. So of course, like I stated before, supplementing some of these items with maybe more budget friendly options, especially if it's just in the interim, is at least a acceptable route to go in the interim. And then, like I said, if down the line, you know, you save up a couple dollars and you want to replace the budget insert item, dope flat pouch, roll one, whatever the case may be, insert, like I said, specific item. If you want to supplement that with the actual Gucci stuff down the line, you can do so. And then you at least know you have the muscle memory, you have the training with the, obviously, the budget-friendly product, and you're none worse for wear. You just swap the old out, the old budget version out, put in the new, nothing changes, and you're good to go. But with all that being said, and all the rambling that I just did through this entire, feels like 20-minute video, we're at the final, at least, stage of the product. Keep in mind, I will be highlighting this, as I stated before, at a low budget update video, so look out for that coming up very soon. And with all that being said, I will stop talking your guys' ear off. And again, let me know if this, at least background commentary, was at least adding to the video, and if you guys enjoyed it, because at the end of the line, I want to kind of provide videos for you guys to enjoy. And if me rambling while building this stuff adds a little bit of more enjoyment to these videos, instead of just music and be building stuff, then by all means I can keep doing this. But yeah, let me know, and that's that.
Bullshit, you get to be all Buck Rogers having sex in the 25th century with fucking Tweaky and Dr. Theopolis. I'm stuck to a bottle of Jergens in the bathroom.
Holy bejesus, you do not use my Jergens to jack it in our bathroom.
No, you know what I do actually, is I light a bunch of candles, and I sprawl out on my sheets, and I listen to Sting. No, I'm a guy. Give me 2 popsicle sticks of rubber band. I'll find a way to fuck it, like a filthy MacGyver.
Alrighty guys, I hope you liked the video. Of course, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let me know what you think of this final budget build video for the Krydex low-vis slick plate carrier system. After this specific budget build video, which is generally the sequence of kind of what I do when it comes to budget builds, it will lead into at least a low budget loadout update or low budget update for this specific plate carrier system, to be able to highlight all the price points for everything in the actual build within itself. So for most of you guys that have watched this and are looking for price points or looking for a total lump sum at least value, or at least total lump sum total for the entire plate carrier system, you will get that in that video, which generally is the following video after the budget build. But with all the rambling out of the way, let's get into the same nuts and bolts stuff that I normally do at the end of every video. I do have a Twitter/X. Feel free to hit the link down in the description down below if you want to follow me there. And of course, I do have a Patreon. Link is in the description down below for both of those things. If you want to contribute any sort of patronage to the Tactical Newbie channel, it's always much appreciated. And down the line, it helps at least the channel grow and helps for future funding of future endeavors down the line, whether it be cross comparison of certain gear, tactical comparisons more specifically, or any type of tactical reviews on specific gear, and even hopefully down the line be able to, maybe one day we'll see, get an editor or get you know, at least a cameraman or something like that, and be able to at least provide you guys a little bit more of an immersive experience, which that is the end goal at the end of the day. As I've stated multiple times before at the end of most of these videos, this is 100% self-funded. This is 100% me in full production from basically start to finish for all these videos. I know it's not the most stellar videos out in the YouTube space at this present time, but the goal is to obviously get to that point. In order to get that point, divvying up some of that responsibility down the line will make things a little bit easier. But with all the rambling out of the way, I will see you guys next week.